Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got an amazing one for you today. We're setting the stage for a really cinematic journey into a city that is quite literally unlike any other place on Earth. We're traveling way up to the edge of northeastern China. It's a place where winter isn't seen as this miserable obstacle you just have to endure. Actually, it's the exact opposite. Here, winter is the ultimate raw material, totally celebrated. Get ready, because we're about to witness a truly majestic winter transformation.
So you really gotta wonder, how does a city survive and, honestly, even thrive at 30 degrees below zero? It's one of those questions that immediately hooks you, right? We're diving into a place of absolute sensory extremes today. You know, most cities just totally shut down when a deep frost sets in. But for the millions of people living in Harbin, the freezing point is actually where the magic begins.
Minus 30 degrees Celsius. Just wrap your head around that for a second. That is a brutal, eye-watering, bone-chilling kind of cold. At that temperature, your breath instantly crystallizes in the air. Your eyelashes turn completely white with frost. If you drop a bottle of water, you're basically watching it turn into a solid block of ice in minutes. It definitely sets some incredibly high stakes for our journey today.
And the contrast of daily life there, it's just staggering. Outside, you are battling a minus 20 to minus 30 degree frozen streetscape. But the second you step through a doorway, boom, you're hit with 25 degree indoor district heating. Harbin uses these massive, triple-layered insulated curtains at pretty much every shop entrance just to trap all that sweltering heat inside. You're literally pushing through a physical climate border every single time you just want to grab a coffee.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the evolution of the Ice City. It all happened incredibly fast. It started back in 1898 as a Russian-Chinese Eastern Railway outpost. Fast forward a bit to 1906, and Jewish merchants introduced the now famous made deer ice cream. Then, in the 1920s, there was this massive boom in European architecture, and by 1999, that's when the city started building the monumental ice and snow world that we see today. So it went from a railway hub to a full-blown modern winter megacity in basically a blink of historical time.
Section 1. Russian Roots and Eastern Palaces. That crazy rapid growth I just mentioned birthed a totally unique multicultural identity, leaving the city with this beautifully preserved history.
Picture this. You're walking down Central Street, which is a 1.5-kilometer pedestrian avenue. Try to imagine the crisp crunch of snow under your boots. You are stepping on century-old cobblestones known as breadstones because they're literally shaped like little Russian loaves of bread. All around you are these eclectic Baroque and Renaissance facades. I mean, in the dead of winter, this Asian city feels exactly like you're strolling through a classic European capital.
And you really have to appreciate how resilient these structures are. Take the Saint Sophia Cathedral, an absolute architectural masterpiece built back in 1907. With that iconic green onion dome, it's kind of the visual centerpiece of Old Harbin. But here's the wild part. For decades, it was completely hidden. It was totally buried by surrounding residential apartment blocks and was actually being used as a warehouse. It wasn't until a massive restoration in 1997 that it was finally revealed to the world once again.
Now, some people refer to this next spot as the Louvre of the East, and it perfectly captures our next architectural marvel, though it comes from a wildly unexpected place. It's the Harbin Pharmaceutical Group No. 6 factory. Yep, you heard that right, a medicine factory. But if you step inside, it boasts this awe-inspiring gold-gilded European palace interior that looks straight out of Versailles. It even has a massive world-class print museum inside. It is an absolute feast for the eyes.
Section 2. Kings of the Frozen Forest. It's not just the human architecture that's adapted to this deep freeze, so let's shift gears and look at the wildlife that calls Harbin home.
What's truly fascinating here is how these massive cats thrive effortlessly in an environment that forces us humans to bundle up in endless layers. We're talking about the Siberian Tiger Park, home to hundreds of Amur tigers. These are 300-kilogram predators with huge, wide paws and super dense fur, literally built for minus 40 degrees. You can safely observe them from these reinforced roaming buses. They even do live raw meat feedings right through the window slots. You might even spot Ermatai, a famous, slightly eccentric tiger the locals totally adore, just living his absolute best life in the deep freeze.
Section 3. Hearty Northeastern Winter Cuisine. You're probably wondering, how do people keep their own internal furnaces burning in this climate? Well, it's all about how the local culture combats that relentless cold with dense, steaming, hearty food.
Honestly, you can almost smell the rich, savory aromas right now. Imagine sitting around a Kong. That's a traditional heated northeastern brick bed. You're sharing these massive portions of iron pot braised goose, or maybe a traditional pig killing dish, just loaded up with sauerkraut and blood sausage. Spots like Aunt Jaw's 30-year-old restaurant really capture this warm, uninhibited spirit. They stew the meat slowly until all those delicious oils perfectly release into the broth. It's serious comfort food.
But the sheer survival energy of this city really shines at the outdoor morning markets. Picture this. It's 6 a.m. It's freezing. It's pitch dark. But the streets are alive and steaming with hot Hulenbuer mutton soup. You can grab these huge hand-rolled halal beef offal steamed buns or a classic industrial-era aluminum boxed lunch for just 12 RMB. And you definitely can't miss Gua Bar Roe, that legendary sweet and sour crispy pork that was pretty much invented right here a century ago.
But here is the delightful absurdity of Harbin, the ultimate winter irony. It is a city so cold that the great outdoors just acts as a natural freezer. You've got people casually strolling around in -20-degree weather, eating Monzera ice cream, biting into frozen pears, and crunching on rock-hard candied hawthorns on sticks. The cold is so extreme that the ice cream literally never melts. How crazy is that?
Section 4. The Monumental Ice Kingdom. And this brings us right to our grand finale. Let's see how Harbin takes its harshest element and spins it into a monumental, world-class celebration.
Let's look at how they build a miracle in the cold, because the physical labor and ingenuity here is just staggering. First, tens of thousands of workers go out and cut massive ice blocks directly from the frozen Songhua River. Then they stack them up to 50 meters high, like gigantic Lego pieces. Next, they fill the cracks with snow and spray it with water, which instantly freezes to create a natural ice adhesive. Finally, they embed LED strips everywhere, so the entire city glows from within at night.
To really put this into perspective, let's look at some numbers. This is not just a park. It is an awe-inspiring temporary megacity. It costs 800 million RMB, that's about $500 million to build. It covers a sprawling 800,000 square meters, which is actually larger than the Vatican. And remember, this is built purely for the winter. It melts entirely in the spring, and they rebuild the whole shebang from scratch the next year. And clearly, people love it. It drew 2.71 million visitors in just 61 days. 521 meters. Think about that distance. That is the staggering length of the world's longest super ice slide, located right inside the park. It spans across 24 different lanes. It's so popular and so thrilling that visitors will literally wait for hours, standing in the freezing cold, just for the chance to launch themselves down this half-kilometer chute made of solid ice.
I love this reaction from one tourist because it totally validates the mind-bending reality of the ice and snow world. They said, it looks like it was made by AI. So unreal, very magical and sci-fi. And it's true. When the sun goes down, you're walking through towering, neon-lit castles, temples, and bridges made entirely of glowing river ice. It genuinely feels like you've stepped straight into a futuristic sci-fi movie.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. If a city can take brutal, sub-zero winters and spin them into an 800 million RMB kingdom of light and ice, what incredible things are we missing when we simply hide from the cold? Harbin doesn't just survive its climate, it uses it as a canvas. It proves that extreme environments don't have to limit us. They can actually inspire immense human creativity. So hey, next time the temperature drops, maybe don't just huddle inside. Go out, embrace the chill, and see what magic you can build. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.